Alright boys and girls, and welcome to the channel. So today it's all about some good old American action. Now we all know that the 1980s were the era of action films. And in the 90s they pretty much continued on with the same formula, with a ton of great entertainment.
Of course, I'm a Terminator.
So today I want to focus on an actor that I consider to be one of the forgotten action stars of the 1990s. And who are we talking about? Swiss-born Daniel Bernhardt. Now, before we check out the man's explosive backspin kicks, why don't you hit that like and subscribe button? The man is probably best known for his breakthrough role in the movie Bloodsport Part 2, which of course was a sequel to the movie Bloodsport that made Jean-Claude Van Damme famous. It's pretty obvious to see why they cast someone like Daniel Bernhardt. I mean, look at the man. It's pretty hard not to make some comparisons between these two guys. They're both from small European countries, they're both experts in martial arts, both guys had very impressive physiques and were also very handsome, so you can see why the camera liked them. Anyway, Van Damme will have to wait for another video. For now, let's focus on good old Daniel. Now, as mentioned, Mr. Bernhardt here is actually from Switzerland, and he was born on August 31st, 1965. After high school, he studied architectural design for 4 years and graduated. Now, of course, we all know that being an architect does not exactly make you an action star. So, where did the man pick up a few tricks? Well, the man has been training martial arts since he was 18, and he's an expert in Kung Fu, Karate, Taekwondo, kickboxing, boxing, Judo, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, pretty all-rounded. Now, before moving to America, he had a little layover in Paris where he stayed for 7 years. The man worked as a model and has worked with all the big shots, everybody from Versace, Vogue, Elle, Max, you name it. In 1990, he moved to New York to continue his modeling career. It was a good time and the man stayed in shape by practicing his martial arts. It was also here that he got involved with Kyokushin Karate, which is mostly what Dolph Lundgren is known for. Now, Kyokushin Karate is pretty damn brutal. You barely defend yourself, you just kick butt. And I guess in some ways you can almost compare it to Thai boxing. I know I said that Van Damme had to wait for another video. Well, I guess I lied, because these two guys actually ended up working together on a TV spot for the fashion house. Daniel was mostly cast because of his background in martial arts, and he performed a fight scene with Van Damme. The two of them got along just fine and communicated in French. Now, this was a very exciting experience for Daniel Bernhardt, and he caught the acting bug right there on the spot. Keep in mind, at the time Van Damme was 5 years older than Daniel, and already a big star. This was the same year that Lionheart and Death Warrant came out, and he had already appeared in Bloodsport, Cyborg, and Kickboxer. Now, what nobody knew at the time, including our two friends here, is that it would actually take them 27 years before they ended up in the same movie together, and that was in the 2017 movie Kill 'Em All. Anyway, when these two guys first met during this commercial back in 1990, it didn't take long before Daniel Bernhardt was actually offered a role in Bloodsport Part 2. Now, Van Damme did not have anything to do with that. In fact, he had already turned down the sequel to Kickboxer because he wanted to distance himself from some of these martial arts films that actually had made him famous, but now he wanted to be more of an action star. When Daniel Bernhardt first was offered the part in Bloodsport 2, he thought it was a joke and he hung up on the producer. Soon after, the producer called back and he realized this was actually the real thing. What's really interesting here is that even though Daniel Bernhardt did not really have many acting abilities at the time, they actually signed him for a 5-picture deal right there on the spot. And that was his introduction to Hollywood, and that's how he ended up becoming an action star in martial arts films. Now, what's really interesting here is that once Van Damme found out that they were going to do a sequel to Bloodsport, he started showing some interest in the project, and all of a sudden Daniel was on the sideline because of course they wanted Van Damme in it. However, it didn't work out because Van Damme was under contract to do some other movies, so Daniel Bernhardt got the job. So as you can imagine, it took a long time before they got all the business stuff out of the way and before they could actually shoot the film. Bloodsport 2, The Next Kumite, wasn't released until 1996, which was 8 years after the original. And the very same year, you can say that Van Damme had his own comeback in martial arts films, with the movie The Quest, in which he also directed. There's a lot of similarities between The Quest and the original Bloodsport, and you can say it was a big budget version of Bloodsport. The Quest had a budget of $35 million, whereas Bloodsport was only around $1.5 million. Now, The Quest wasn't a bad film at all. Believe me, I was there on opening night. However, it could have been better, and I think most people would agree. So luckily for Daniel, he ended up with Bloodsport Part 2 and his 5-picture deal. So over the next few years, he was a very busy man. He followed up Bloodsport 2 with Bloodsport Part 3 and Part 4, The Dark Kumite. Now personally, I would say the title, The Dark Kumite, sounds awesome. Unfortunately, the movie just wasn't. It seemed like one of those movies that was shot completely without a script, cause not much of it actually made any sense. And after the movie you'd say, what the hell was that? Yes, Bernhardt returned in number 4, however, for some strange reason, he played a different character in this one, which was really weird. He has even said himself that Bloodsport 4 is a movie that he'll rather forget. Now, to some of you hardcore action fans out there, let me give you some inside info that some of you may not be aware of. Of all the fighters that Bernhardt was facing, one of them was named Chad Stahelski in real life. And you may not know him as an actor, but you definitely know his later work. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Stahelski actually did the fight choreography for the fight between him and Daniel Bernhardt. And later on, he became a stunt coordinator and worked on various films, including Rambo and The Expendables 2. And then Stahelski also ended up in the director's chair. Let's see, what was the little franchise he got involved with? I think it was something about a guy named John?
I'll kill them all.
Oh yeah, that guy. Anyway, after Bernhardt's appearance in the Bloodsport movies, he became known as a leading man in low-budget action films, or as an action actor. Now, in the late 90s, he did other movies which includes Future War, True Vengeance, and Perfect Target. In 1998, he was cast as the lead in the TV show Mortal Kombat Conquest. Unfortunately, it only ran for one season before it was cancelled. So altogether, you have to say that in the late 1990s, Daniel Bernhardt had a pretty damn good run. Unfortunately, like so many other things in life, things happen that are completely out of your control. The film industry changed quite dramatically within just a couple of years really, when the straight-to-video low-budget action market started to die down. Now this meant that so many of our 90s action guys, like Billy Blanks, Olivia Gruner, Cynthia Rothrock, and so many others, ended up not working that much anymore. And in this category of tough guys, we also had Daniel Bernhardt that ended up suffering. He realized he had to look elsewhere and got involved with stunt work. In 2003, he appeared in the Matrix sequel, The Matrix Reloaded, as the upgraded Agent Johnson. His friend Chad Stahelski was actually the stunt coordinator on the film, and Daniel ended up fighting against both Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne. In the last 20 years since Matrix Reloaded, Daniel Bernhardt has worked on a ton of different films. In most of them, he has played a tough bad guy or a henchman that had his ass kicked. But in Daniel's defense, he has usually always been up against some serious opponents. In The Clutter from 2007, he's trying to piss off Chuck Norris himself while riding a city bus. Probably not the smartest thing to do. He also had a pretty intense fight scene against Jason Statham in the movie Parker. And in the movie John Wick, of course he got to fight Keanu Reeves once more. And it didn't end very well for him. This was also Chad Stahelski's first feature as a director. We have already talked about him fighting Van Damme in the movie Kill 'Em All, but it can't hurt to take a look at it. These are two exceptionally great fighters, and it's awesome that they finally had a chance to square off in a movie. Perhaps one of Daniel's best and most brutal fight scenes ever, in my mind, would have to be in the movie Atomic Blonde, when he's up against Charlize Theron. In real life, I'll probably put my money on Daniel. However, when you play an ugly bad guy, you usually end up having your ass kicked. And of course, that's what happened here to Daniel. But it wasn't for his lack of trying. Okay, so what's the reason that Daniel Bernhardt has gotten so much work over the years? Well, according to himself, this is what he has to say. They realized it's better to hire a guy like me to put in the part to play opposite someone like Jason Statham or Keanu or Charlize Theron, because they realized I could act. I had a certain size, I had a certain look, and better than hiring just an actor, then you have to double him. You have to go over the shoulder and it's a whole different fight. So that's why I got very lucky and I found myself a little niche in the game. In real life, Bernhardt is married to the actress Lisa Studhart. The two of them met on the set of Bloodsport Dark Kumite, and that's probably the only good thing that came out of that movie. They also have a daughter that's now around 20 years old. So when you add it all up, you have to say that Daniel Bernhardt has done pretty well over the last 30 years, and it doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. Anyway, fellas, thanks for checking into the Action channel here. And guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and let me know what kind of action stars you want me to focus on next. Until then, stay safe, pump up those biceps, and watch a lot of action movies. See you in the next video.